Right, so you ever look up at the night sky and think, I wonder when I'm going to see a giant Doritos logo up there?
Well, that's an interesting thought.
It might not be that far off.
It might not be.
Yeah.
Space advertising. That's what we're diving into today. And we have a really fascinating article from spacenews.com titled, Astronomers Seek Global Ban on Space Advertising.
Right.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Yes.
So we're going to unpack that.
Yeah, we're going to look at the potential consequences.
Yeah, what are the arguments for and against it?
Right.
And why are astronomers so freaked out about this?
Yeah, they're pushing back, and for good reason, I think.
So the article starts out
Yeah.
with this really interesting definition.
Yes.
It's called obtrusive space advertising.
Yeah.
Quote, advertising in outer space that is capable of being recognized by a human being on the surface of the Earth without the aid of a telescope or other technological device.
That's a mouthful, but that's important. Yeah, I mean, that's not just like, a little satellite.
Right.
Way up there, you need a telescope to see it.
It's got to be big.
This is like, we're talking billboard.
Billboards in space.
It's the kind of thing you just look up and see it.
And that's why it's raising concerns, right? Because the U.S. has regulations against this type of advertising in space. But of course, that only extends to U.S. jurisdiction.
Right. Well,
there's nothing on the books internationally.
I mean, it's not like companies haven't thought about this.
Oh, they've thought about it.
I mean, they're always trying to push the boundaries,
Yeah.
push the envelope of how to get our attention.
Absolutely. And the article actually highlights a really good example of this.
Okay.
A Russian company called StartRocket.
Uh-huh.
They developed a system that uses small satellites to create giant logos.
Oh, wow.
That would be visible from Earth.
So they're already trying to do it.
Yeah, well, they even got a contract with PepsiCo.
What?
To advertise their energy drink.
Wait, so we almost had a Pepsi logo in the sky.
We almost did. But PepsiCo actually backed out after they
got cold feet.
Got cold feet after some tests with a high-altitude balloon.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe that says something about, I don't know, public perception?
It does.
I mean, Pepsi, they're not usually afraid of a little...
No, they're usually all about...
big marketing stunt.
Yeah, they're all about being bold.
Pushing the limits.
Exactly. So for them to back out, I think it says something.
Yeah, maybe this isn't, a viable thing.
Yeah. Could be that people are more aware of the downsides.
Yeah, because it's not just about, I don't know whether it looks nice or not.
Right. There's environmental concerns, too.
Yeah, all those satellites up there.
Exactly.
And then the light pollution.
Launching those things, maintaining them.
Yeah, it's already bad enough in the cities.
That's right. And that's exactly what astronomers and scientists are worried about. All this extra light and all these extra objects in orbit, it could really mess with our ability to see and study the universe.
So it's not just about pretty night sky.
It's not just about aesthetics.
Yeah, like actual science.
It's about science.
Okay.
And that's why the American Astronomical Society, or the AAS, is taking such a strong stance against this. They are calling for a complete ban on obtrusive space advertising. And they're saying that we need international conventions or treaties.
Wow.
To really make this clear that this is not okay on a global scale.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a lot of red tape to try and wrangle all the different countries to agree on this.
They get a big challenge.
Yeah, I mean, space is already.
Yeah, there's no easy answers when it comes to enforcing international regulations.
It's the Wild West up there.
It is the Wild West.
But I mean, it makes sense to
the AAS
do this now.
They're saying we got to set these ground rules before it's a problem.
Yeah, because once those billboards are up there, it's not like we can just...
Exactly. It's not an easy fix.
Get rid of them.
It's not like taking down a billboard on the side of the highway.
Right, exactly.
But this is a much bigger deal.
Yeah, but the article also mentions this guy, John Barentine.
Oh, yeah, John Barentine.
Who's a dark sky expert, and he's not so optimistic.
He's a bit more...
He thinks that the money, the commercial lure...
He thinks the lure of profit...
It's just too strong.
Is too much.
That somebody's going to do it no matter what.
Right.
What do you think?
It's hard to argue with that.
Yeah.
I mean, look at history.
Yeah.
We've always pushed to make money off of new frontiers.
Yeah, well, space is the...
And space is the ultimate frontier.
Final frontier.
It is. It is.
But speaking of companies that are looking at space with dollar signs in their eyes...
Oh, yeah.
StartRocket isn't the only one.
They're not alone.
The article mentioned another company, Avant Space.
Avant Space.
Yeah.
What are they up to?
Well, Avant Space, they're taking a little bit of a different approach.
Okay.
They're not using reflective satellites.
They're developing technology that uses lasers.
Hold on, lasers.
Lasers to project images
No,
directly onto the Earth's atmosphere.
like a giant laser show.
Kind of. Yeah, it does sound like something out of a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
But this technology, it's moving quickly.
Really?
Yeah, they've already done tests.
With lasers in space?
Yeah, with a small satellite called a CubeSat. They were able to project some simple images.
I mean, that's amazing.
It is.
But how does that even work?
Well, they're not beaming the images all the way from space.
Okay.
The lasers are used to excite particular molecules in the upper atmosphere,
Okay.
which makes them glow.
So they're turning part of the atmosphere into like a
Yeah, it's like creating artificial auroras.
giant screen.
Exactly.
That is wild.
It is wild. But of course, there's potential downsides too.
Well, yeah, lasers.
Lasers, you got to be careful.
How do you even aim a laser accurately enough from space?
Well, that's one of the big challenges. It's very difficult to control those lasers with enough precision to make a clear image.
Right, because it's going through the atmosphere.
You've got atmospheric distortion.
All that stuff.
Then you got to worry about interference
Yeah.
with other spacecraft.
Right, satellites, other things up there.
All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and what about the environment?
That's another big question.
What does that do to the atmosphere, all those lasers?
Right. What happens when you're constantly hitting the atmosphere with lasers?
Yeah.
Scientists are still studying that.
Hmm.
We don't really know the long-term effects of messing with the atmosphere like that.
And then there's also the whole, like,
Right. And then, of course,
the ethical side of the
there's
dream.
the ethics of it all.
Do we want?
Do we want a giant laser show in the sky?
Yeah.
I mean,
Our sky.
it raises some big questions
Yeah.
about the future of space.
Yeah, how are we going to use it?
Do we want it to be a place for science, for a pristine environment, or just another place to make money?
Yeah, it feels like we're kind of at a
Crossroads here. We have this drive
like dilemma,
to explore,
progress versus preservation.
to push the limit.
Yeah, and there's no easy answers.
It's a tough one for sure. But I mean, we've mostly talked about, the downsides of space advertising.
Right.
Are there any arguments in favor of it?
Well, there are some who say that the revenue from space advertising could actually help pay for more space exploration and research.
Certainly.
Yeah, the thinking is if companies are willing to pay big bucks to put their logos up there, that money could then be used to support, science missions and developing new technology.
So it's kind of like a trade-off.
Yeah.
We get giant ads in space,
Right.
but it helps us learn more about the universe.
Exactly.
I don't know. It feels a little...
It's definitely a controversial idea.
Yeah.
And it comes down to, I guess, whether the scientific benefits
Right.
outweigh the downsides, the impact on culture and the environment.
Right. But there's also the argument that space advertising could actually make space more accessible to everyday people.
Really?
Yeah. Create a sense of wonder and maybe even inspire the next generation of scientists and engineers.
So like, hey, kids, look up at that giant Nike logo and dream big.
Well, it might not be that blatant.
Okay.
The idea is that by making space more visible and relatable,
Yeah.
it could get people more interested and engaged.
So it's not all bad.
Right. There are definitely some potential positives to think about.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, we need to have this conversation on a global scale.
We got to figure this out.
We got to figure it out as a society, how we want to use space and how we want to interact with it.
Because if we don't,
set some guidelines now,
yeah,
it's just a matter of time before the night sky becomes one giant billboard.
it really feels that way.
It does. And it all comes back to that fundamental question,
The big one.
who owns the sky?
Yeah.
And as we commercialize space more and more,
Who gets to decide?
who gets to decide how it's used?
That's a question we haven't really had to deal with until now.
No, we haven't. And it's one we can't ignore anymore. This isn't just about advertising. It's about the future of space exploration and scientific discovery and our relationship with the cosmos.
It's about everything.
It really is. So next time you look up at the night sky, think about what you want to see.
Yeah.
A sky full of stars or a giant ad for the latest gizmo.
The answer is up to us.
It is.